Hey, before the video starts, I would appreciate it if you could subscribe to the channel. It does a lot for the channel and it shows that you like the content. With that, let's get into it. Okay, so Faze made the response on Twitter recently, I think about 2-3 days ago. We've known this for long, that we haven't been Faze. We needed to be. We're working hard towards fixing it. We hope that all the OGs sit down together soon, but we don't, want to do it without everyone. We'll do everything in our power not to let you down. The rest of the video was basically just summarizing what other Faze members had to say about the situation, what they think, what they experienced, and everything. We'll go from, earliest date, which was posted on the 17th, to the latest, which I think was posted yesterday. With that, let's get into it. So Rain and Teeqo meet up. Just to talk about a few things. They talk about, everything's like a game of telephone. You hear one thing, it gets past the line, and people hear something else. People think that they're trying to destroy Faze by the way they act, but in reality, they're going towards fixing it. The reason why they're mad is because you have people who basically make bank for doing nothing, then the people who actually love the brand who for what it is get worked for, just pennies or nothing in general, even though they're the ones who made the brand successful in the first place. They go on to talk about their love for the brand and that they don't want to ruin relationships with other Faze members that they had over the years. They talk about the corporate side of Faze and how they kept the corporate side separated people from each other. So all communication was go through the CEO, and he can relay, information that he wants to relate to basically ruin, relationships. They talk about, how much money Faze makes, yearly, and how they don't even get a single cent, even though they worked for the brand. They don't care about the money, but they care about the brand itself, which is a reason why they want change. They talk about promotional things, how, Rain being one of the owners, Teeqo being a long, decade-long member, didn't even know about some of the Faze deals that are made until they're actually posted on the actual Faze thing. The Porsche thing that they had recently, so Rain only found out when they posted on Twitter, and he's been told to, basically just promote these things, even though he's not getting paid. So he doesn't have any incentive to do so. No one really cares about them, and they're not getting paid to do so, so why should they? Teeqo's video. Am I still in Faze? He talks about how he doesn't want to, drag it, but he still wants to say a few things. He says that he hasn't been posting because if he continued to post and make money for the, company, no one will really care about him. So he stopped posting for half a year, and he dropped the video. Since if a big YouTuber just stops completely, and he posts the video, it'll gain traction, which is what Teeqo did, and which is what happened. Everyone was basically covering it, which caused a lot more people to take what Rain said more seriously, since they realized, Rain wasn't that so crazy. People came out with their experience. He brings up why he didn't just leave. He wanted to fix things, but he still didn't know if he was in Faze or not after everything. He knows that he doesn't need Faze anymore, but that wasn't the issue. The issue was he wanted to sort out everything so everything would be fine. He wanted things to go back how everything was to the New York house, because I see a trend. Everyone that talked about it, they want to go back to the old New York house because that's when, Faze was Faze. He thanks Temper for everything he did and tries not to blame anyone because he doesn't really need Faze as a backbone anymore. He talks about meeting Rain and no one else really coming to talk to him, and he feels relieved that he can get this out after holding it in for years, and he states that he's going to try to start making vlogs again. Rain to K. This video is basically just on K's view of everything. He said he's been vocal about this on a Snapchat, but he really can't stay silent anymore, so he's making the video. So he says that he wants to share his views since he's been a member for a decade. He basically says that he helped with strategizing, adding members and, kicking out members. And he says that he wanted to start a talent union before he even knew it was a union. He just wanted people to be treated fairly, and he said Rain was right. But it was probably too late to do anything. He talks about how he was talking about the union, and the corporate side of Faze heard of this, and they got two of the largest members at that time to basically pull away from the union idea, which is why it really didn't come to, arbitration. Rain talks about how the corporate side of Faze, really didn't make people they felt like a valid member, like others did. Kay talks about how, the talent was, ignored, and that he can really just make a 2-hour plus video on everything in the future. He starts talking about the CEO, but he really can't say anything right now. He brings up a point in 2019, 2020, where him and Teeqo basically called into corporate, and they basically just told him that they're worthless. And they say that the only reason why Jarvis was big was because of Faze. And people who disagree, with the CEO, they got fired, and they went to 100 Thieves. Since 100 Thieves, is run by the actual, owners, as in, Nate Shot, Courage, and Valkyrie, Rain on Adapt. So he starts off by going on, talking about the interviews, the Tozy interview on the Bradley Martin podcast. With the Bradley Martin podcast, they recorded that in, I think, early January. I know it's posted like late February, so there's a gap. He talks about I think he said the Tozy interview also had a gap between posting and recording. And he talks about, his feelings about Adapt being a rat and hating him has changed a little bit last week. He talks about how he didn't know Adapt's side of everything. Adapt didn't know his full story. And he talks about the Exposing Faze video 3 months ago about the corporate side of Faze and that they started to spread lies about Rain. And they said that, Rain said a few things to Adapt, which he didn't. And instead of, Adapt checking out with Rain, he disagreed with them or just agreed with the corporate side of Faze. And, Rain understood it, and he understands that. And he also felt like he should have done the same thing and went to him and explained everything instead of going on podcasts and calling him a rat. Everyone in Faze and people and OG members, they want everyone to be back together. Apologizes, for what he did to Adapt, and he also talks about the hate on Rug. And for some reason, I think some people were just hating on Rug for some reason. Rain and Rug, everything that's happened, Rug went to Rain and talked about everything and gave his point of view, which Rain understands and he appreciates. Adapt on Faze. He talks about if it was up to him, none of this would have happened. Since he's not an owner, he really doesn't know what happens from beyond the scenes. And he didn't even know what was going to happen. Adapt said he wanted to do something about it and that he was able to get the Faze channel. If you look at the Faze channel's recent stuff, you can see it's Faze Adapt. He's doing a few things like challenge type videos. He talks about Rain and how they had a disagreement about the Exposing Faze video about 3 months back. Rain wanted to Adapt in it because they were so close. He said no, and he thought he could do it. They could do it in a better way. Adapt thought, it really wasn't going to help anyone. And they talked about, they want to spread it in a different form. So Rain goes off on him using personal things since they were close. Adapt was done with Rain at that point, and he just stopped talking to him. Rain, a few days ago, recently, they started talking and they started to understand each other's sides. But one phone call isn't going to stall all that hate that he got that one day and all the hurt because, it seems like Rain doesn't understand the magnitude of what he said to him that day. He appreciates that he apologizes, but he just can't forget after one phone call. Teeqo, I'm leaving. So this video is the vlog that he talked about in his other video. This whole thing, he just basically works out and basically says that it's his last day in the US since he's going back to Sweden. Rain on Seabass. Before the video even starts, Rain blames Seabass for the reason of how Faze is right now. Basically saying he sold out to corporate, so now he can add and kick out people in the Faze Toronto house. He owns that, and he has a salary too. His ego from 2012 he knows about with Seabass hasn't changed, and he's done. He knows that Seabass, cares for the brand, but he doesn't have the best interest. He only cares about himself and the people that can get him a higher position in the company. Seabass says that him and Teeqo are so different and that he agrees with them in every way. Rain basically says that Seabass supports Teeqo because, he receives paycheck to paycheck. Seabass says that Faze gave Teeqo a career and the house that he's living in right now is paid by Faze. And that, he got a mil total in compensation from the last 5 years. And the way that I think, right? So Teeqo says he hasn't been paid since 2019. And it's, so from 2019 to 2014, that's if you count it, that's 4 years. So that means that mil in compensation was given in 2018 alone. And they gave him nothing else. Rain basically says that making him pay rent, or they're paying his rent, but they're taking so much more. Seabass then brings up the point where, the owners don't show up to things. And Rain brings up the point where, he has no incentive to look after anything. Because you have, basically all the members of Faze who really just don't care anymore because they lost the thing that they made. They don't have any impact in the company that they started. They're not paid or anything. While Seabass is over here on the corporate side, making money and just criticizing the owners. That's about it. If you like it, then sub.